Alright, to use our graphing calculators with our quadratic equations, we have to remember a couple of the things we did in Chapter 1 with graphing calculators. Whenever you want to plug in an x value, you're going to use your trace button or your F1 button on your Casio. To plug in a y value, you'll put your equation in y1, the y value in y2, and then find the intersection. On a Casio, remember that intersection is found in F5, and then it's the fifth choice, so you'll press F5. On a TI, you'll have to press second and trace because you want to get to that calculate menu. And then number 5 is the intersection. After you press that, you'll have to press enter 3 times to answer all the questions that the calculator asks and get it to tell you the x and y for the intersection. A new skill we're going to need with quadratics is the maximum or the minimum of the equation. Since we're dealing with parabolas that have bottoms or tops, then we have maximum and minimum values. On the Casio pictured right here, if you press F5, like we did when we wanted to find intersection, intersection is F5, but over here F3 is minimum, F2 is maximum. So you have to look at your picture and decide if you have a minimum value or a maximum value. And then you press either F2 or F3 and wait for the calculator to give you your answer. On the graph you see right there, that's a minimum value, so we would have to press F3. Okay, maximum and minimums on TIs require a little bit more work. They're in the same place as intersection, so you'll start at second and trace. And you can see that, whoa. You can see that minimum is 3 and maximum is 4. So you can press 3 for minimum or 4 for maximum. You'll have to look at your picture to know what you want. On the picture that you see on this screen, you can tell that it has a bottom, so you'll want to be pressing minimum. So you'd press number 3. Well, when you press number 3, it asks you a question. You can't just hit enter 3 times like we did with intersection. We actually have to answer the questions. So, if you look at this graph, the question it asks is, what's the left bound? They want us to be on the left side of the minimum. If you look really closely, that cursor right there, that's where that blinky dot is. I used my left arrow key to get over to the left side of the parabola. And then you click enter. Then the question changes. Here's the second question. Now it asks you right bound. So you use the right arrow key and you click around the vertex and over to the right side, and then you click enter. Then it will ask you to guess, and you'll click enter one more time, and then it will finally give you the answer. It tells you that the minimum was negative 2.999, negative 6. In a situation like that, when your TI gives you a decimal value with all those 9s, I would absolutely just write down negative 3, negative 6 on my paper. Sometimes the TI gives you a bunch of 0s or a bunch of 9s that we can just round away. Alright, so up next I have 2 problems that I'm going to type into my calculator and show what the correct answers are, in case you would like to pull out your calculator and practice along to make sure that you're getting the right answers. These first 2 pages are the steps, and the next 2 pages are just 2 examples. Okay, so on this one, in y1, I've put 2x squared plus 6x minus 7. And then I notice I have an x value, so I'm going to do that with trace. And I find out that y equals 1. Okay. I notice down here this is another x value, so I'm going to trace again. And I'll get y equals -7. Okay, so now these I notice are y values, so I'll have to do those by using y2. And I'll find my intersection. When I have something in y1 and something in y2, I find my intersection, which is F5 on my my Casio, or second trace 5 on my TI. Okay, so I get x equals -4.702 and x equals 1.702. Okay, when y2 equals 0, and I find my intersection again, x equals -3.898 and positive 0.898. All right. At what value does the equation have its maximum or minimum? What is the maximum or minimum value of the equation? So when it asks at what value, that's asking you to give the x value. When it asks what is the maximum or minimum value, that's asking you to give the y value. So answering part E and part F go together, and we'll have the x for the first answer, we'll have the y for the second answer. So my parabola is turned this way on my graph, so I'll have a minimum to find. So minimum. So F5 and F3 on my Casio. Or I have to do left bound and right bound, remember, on my TIs. So at what value? X is -1.5 and y is -11.5. If you have trouble getting your calculator to give you those values, please ask in class for help. Okay, here's one more example to check and see if you and your calculator are doing things correctly. Alright, this time in f of x notation. So when the number's in the parentheses, that's your input. So this is our only x value in this problem. X equals 0. Okay, so when we have an x, we use trace. After entering this equation in my y1, and I press trace 0, I get y equals 7.5. Okay, my next three problems are all y equals, y equals, y equals. So these will, one at a time, be placed into y2, and I'll find the intersection on my calculator. So, if y2 equals 3, remember to find both intersections. X is -4.162 and 2.162. Remember, on a TI, you have to do your intersection steps twice to get your answer. On a Casio, you just have to press the arrow key to get the second answer. Okay, if y2 equals 9, oh, y2 equals 9 doesn't touch the parabola. It goes right over the top. If there's no intersection, there's no solution. If we were solving by hand, we would get an imaginary number for that problem. Okay, and when y equals -5, we get x equals -6.099. And do it again, second trace 5. Move the cursor, press enter, enter, enter on your TI, or just arrow over on your Casio. Okay, now this time the parabola is turned this way, so we're going to have a maximum value for the next two questions. And again, at what value? That means give the x value. And what is the maximum? That means give the y value. Okay. The x value, after you press the maximum, which is an F5 on a Casio, or second trace on your TI. Remember, on the TI you have to click on the left and click on the right, then press enter before it gives you your answer. You get x equals -1 when y equals 8. Okay, if you have any questions using your calculator, please let me know.